right, so as we have been doing kind of this postseason, we have our buddy Nick with us, our coveted Yankees fan, as we are all watching the game one of the Yankees. Excuse me, we just finished game 2 of the Dodgers.
Aaron Judge still sucks.
Who is it? Dodgers and I'm spacing on Dodgers and Mets.
Sorry,
Dodgers and Mets. Yes. But we're gonna go through really quick and just kind of touch on any kind of major points we saw from last round, and then we'll kind of go into this kind of prediction. I think. Technically, Sam and Nick are the only ones with teams alive, with the only team being the Yankees.
Yeah,
Sam,
it's been rough.
Sam will.
Our brackets don't look good.
We're not good.
Let's just say that.
But if the Yankees win out, Nick wins. But if the Yankees lose, either Sam and Nick tie or we all tie. That's how great it's been with Phil, who's obviously our NASCAR guy. So anyway, last round. The only thing that I want to say is what the heck happened to San Diego?
Dude, they came out so strong, and then just when they came back they won the first game at game 3 in San Diego, and then just were gone. Mm-hmm.
They all fell asleep, and they were not playing Padres baseball. They got away from the game that they played all year,
100%.
And that was pass the baton.
Yeah, they were trying to hit home runs instead of just line drives.
Tried to be that guy, and not that any of them aren't that guy, but that's not the game of Padres baseball that got them to this point.
100%.
And they abandoned that, and they lost that game plan, and then they were in their heads, and that was that.
They were definitely,
and the pitching took over.
They were definitely much. I mean, I don't know the exact stat if they led the league or where they were close in home runs. I believe they were still in the top 10, but they were so much more of like a contact. It seemed like team, and then every once in a while there was that.
Well, it's Petco Park. Like you're not going to hit a lot of home runs there, so that's why they're.
Batting average.
The team was built the way they were. They're not necessarily a home run hitting team. They do hit home runs, but not to the extent where they only score home run or score runs with home runs. But like he said, they did not do that the last 3 games.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the two middle games in Sandy, or the game 2 and game 3. Yeah, they were there. Game 2, they won it was a blowout.
It was that was the 10-2,
10-2, and then there was the 6-5 game.
Yeah,
and then after game 3, like Sam said.
Where'd they go?
Don't know what happened. They turned into the Seattle Mariners. It was crazy.
What a team.
Yeah, so it was kind of sad because they went someone was 28 straight innings without a run.
The other problem was Dylan Cease.
Yeah, he did not have a good game.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he fell apart.
It was not good. Horrible. I mean, Michael King didn't have the greatest second start, but he worked some innings, so it wasn't good. But
the offense didn't give him any help. It doesn't matter.
No, it honestly didn't matter.
But Dylan Cease took the wind out of their sails immediately.
Yeah, 100%. No, and it was interesting too because the Dodgers starting pitching was kind of their big question mark.
They're not even that good.
But going into the and I know they have a playoff ERA of 6 point something, but they've been good.
Flaherty's good.
Yeah,
Yamamoto's
come together.
Not so much. But
Yamamoto was good last game. The first game 1 that year, right? Game 1 they just the last game against San Diego. He was really good. Went 5 innings. I think he was perfect, if not giving up 1 run. He's been kind of coming back, obviously, from injury, so he's been limited to 5 innings max or whatever, 5 innings or 90 pitches, whatever it is. But they've been kind of just making it work. It's been really interesting to see. Obviously, San Diego, the best hitting team, best offense, still proves the whole old school defense wins championships. It's not always the offense. Obviously, it helps, but man, they just got shut out. And it kind of seemed the same way with the Phillies. I mean, we've talked about it too. Nick made a really good point. The Mets were just hot going into the playoffs. So we kind of had that
we thought it could happen, but we weren't expecting it.
It wasn't like the Phillies were ice cold going into the playoffs. They're a really good roster.
I think I saw it. I think it was Harper, Turner, and Schwarber
they did not hit.
Were okay. But then it was Marsh.
Oh, that's what you're yeah.
Gosh dang it. Marsh, I cannot think of their other outfielders. There was 3 of them, but they just were 0 for 30 or maybe 1 for 30, those 3 guys. So they had power up on the top. They were okay. It wasn't their best series by any means, but those hitters from 5 to 9 just did nothing.
Yeah, you had Castellano was good. Schwarber was bad. Schwarber was 167. Yeah. It was Turner, Harper, and Castellanos were really good. Bohm was terrible. Realmuto literally didn't have anything. Yeah. Hayes, he played left, I guess. And then the rest of the team, I don't know well enough. But Marsh was, literally they have 1, 2, 3, 4 guys that played, did not have, they literally batted 0. They had 1, 2, 3, 4 guys bat 250 or down because they were pinch hitters. Yeah. And then their big guys I mean, Schwarber is not really an average hitter, like a hitting for average, but he does usually.
Yeah, we talked about it last week with them losing that game 1 with Wheeler.
Huge.
They
loss.
just didn't have enough.
I think that was the backbreaker. He pitched too well. You need to win that game, and that was that.
Yeah, going 7 innings, giving up nothing, and then losing.
Yeah.
These Mets are just too hot, and
So hot.
I know that we touched on it, and they already just finished game 2 of the NLCS.
Yeah, they're 1-1 now.
Game 1, I'll give the Dodgers. I knew the Dodgers were going to win. That travel is just too tough for a team to adjust time wise. Forget the distance. It's the time zone shift and playing an afternoon game. It's a weird.
Yeah. They've played 2 afternoon games too, which is brutal for them.
Weird.
Yeah, that's so weird.
It's just been weird.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that. Usually, especially like today. Today's game was at 1 o'clock West Coast time, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
what is the TV?
What was
yesterday's? Yesterday's was at.
Yesterday's was later.
I think it was either 1 or like
yesterday's
3.
was later.
I think it was like 3. It was a weird time.
Yeah.
But obviously today they're going at 1 because they want to get it over with because. One, you're going to give you're going to give the Yankees the market for sure, and you have to remember there is Monday Night Football tonight, which will take the majority of the viewership away from baseball. So it is brutal for the Mets, but obviously taking 1 away because now is it 2-3-2?
I think it's 3-2-3. Am I wrong?
2-3-2.
2-3-2.
Yeah. Okay. So they have 3. So taking 1 away from LA, now going home. You get the time change, you get your fans, you get you get the comfortability of being in your bed, whatever. And people, some people don't think that's a big thing. As an athlete and playing,
it's big when you're going across the country, and it's 100%.
And it's also like you can get a penthouse suite, and it's still not it's not the same. But yeah, like Nick kind of touched on, just they were hot. I mean, you had Lindor's batting 260, which is.
And Vientos has been super hot.
Vientos was batting 430 through the series. Nimmo was 269. Alonso's been really good at 273. JD Martinez as your pinch hitter was 286 through the series. The rest of the guys were kind of meh, but they just
they're pitching.
but they were just clutch too. Their hitting was just like the grand slam. It was just clutch hitting. But yeah, their pitching is what has, and their bullpen. Edwin Diaz and Stanek, ex-Mariners, love it to death. They've both been very solid. I mean, Diaz had like an 8 ERA, but it's just because it's inflated. They've been good. Peterson's been really good.
Peterson's been super good.
Going long
reliever, yeah.
They've just been, the team's just, like you said, just been hot. They've been good.
Senga's their weak link, but it's kind of hard because he didn't pitch the whole season, 100%. So it's like, what are you going to expect?
Yeah, what do you think?
I don't know.
Exactly. The fact that he's even giving you innings that are,
I mean, it's just
serviceable. I mean, he didn't really pitch at all, so it's kind of shows why they are such the, like, what are they doing here? How are they here?
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's one of the pieces that kind of that, and who was it? Was it Uncle Steve? Didn't Steve say that they were getting ready for 2026 or something like that, or 2025? Last year,
right.
Like they weren't expecting themselves to be in the playoffs, let alone be contending here for a National League pennant.
Yeah, literally. And I mean that.
And
oh my gosh, there's Spike Lee just popped up on our scene, and he's got all red on. Crazy man.
But
let's go with
Yankee fan.
Yeah, I know that's fair. He's New York through and through, about as New York as you can get for their sports team. We'll talk right now. We'll go because I think the other series was a little bit more interesting to talk about. So we'll go Yankees Royals. Yeah. I think we all kind of thought the Royals were going to be that kind of maybe sneaky team, but we all kind of knew that like skill and roster size and just
they had to outplay their talent.
Yeah,
and they didn't.
They had to play out of their mind. Obviously, you had like Massey was really good, but the rest of the team.
Bobby Witt struggled.
Bobby Witt definitely fell apart.
192. Junior.
Yeah, literally. I was going to say him and Judge were, the two quote-unquote stars besides probably Soto, who played very well through the series. Like batted almost 300. They were terrible. It was, I don't want to call it a boring series, but it really was not a very entertaining series.
No,
you were like, because Kansas City won game 1,
and
everyone was kind of like, oh, maybe, and then it was just Yankees, which is fine, but it was just, there wasn't like a lot of woo to the series. It was just kind of like, oh, okay, the Yankees won again, yep.
Yeah, a lot of pitching duels.
A lot of pitching. Garrett Cole's looked really good.
Although Giancarlo Stanton did have a pretty solid series for not being known to do well.
Stanton has
playoff
been playoff Stanton. And
I agree.
Just the bullpen didn't allow a run.
Yeah,
Luke Weaver.
which is crazy again because
Luke Weaver,
that was like
my
the question
dog.
mark.
Yeah.
Should have used him as my standout player.
Yeah,
I mean,
you should have.
He has been my standout
He's
player.
been so good.
I said Soto, and I mean he's been great as well.
Super good.
Judge, like we said, I think Phil took Judge, but he needs to get his head out of his rear end,
100%.
and then he just keeps striking out, and it's just not good. And that's not productive. Not putting the ball in play. Nothing good happens if you don't put the ball in play.
Yeah,
And,
100%.
Yeah, I think if they really want to go to the next round, especially with the Guardians, that's a good team.
The Guardians are an interesting team for sure.
If we can get it to him, if we can have a lead and we can get the ball to him, he's been good. Holmes has been good. Bullpen's been good.
Yeah, and it's funny because kind of like I was saying with the Dodgers, like we all kind of had that question mark of their starting pitching, which has been it's been serviceable. The Yankees bullpen was a big question mark going into this series. I mean, even kind of all their pitching, like their starters, you have the big names, obviously like Garrett Cole.
Well, Nestor Cortez was out.
Yeah,
so.
Cortez and like Rondon's not. He's been he's been okay.
Stroman was out. Stroman's back now also.
Yeah,
oh, he is? Okay.
And you know that certain
Stroman
players
and
can do it.
Rizzo both.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
they're
huge.
both back. And like the names
both
because
of them.
they are good, but then you're just kind of like, I don't know what you're going to get. You can either get a no hitter, a perfect game, or you're going to give up 30 runs. Like there's it's just such a big gap for them. The whole pitching staff was super solid against Kansas City. From top to bottom, it was very encouraging.
Well, Kansas
for
City's
Yankees
runs
fans.
producers weren't there at all because
100%.
Pasquantino came back early from an injury. He hasn't been the same since, which, I mean, what do you expect?
Yeah.
And then Bobby Witt just did not play at all.
Well,
Perez was fine. I mean,
About
it wasn't
200,
good.
but he's a catcher, so.
I mean,
Yeah, what are you going to get 200
but
out of
if
the
you
catcher?
don't have
be
your top
their
three
guy.
RBI producers doing
Yeah.
anything, you're not going to win.
But
So.
and again, I don't and I don't know. I didn't watch the series like in depth, but obviously that does give you got to give credit to the pitching and the coaching and the whatever of the Yankees to look at Bobby Witt and go, how can we avoid this guy?
well.
Yeah,
I mean,
how
that's
can we
just-
avoid this guy to hit and mash 330 like he did all year?
Yeah.
And they did that to a T. So nothing wrong with that. I think they did a good job, and obviously, like you said, the Kansas City just didn't produce, but I also give a lot more credit, I think, to the Yankees pitching because they did not allow them to produce at all. So, but again, in hindsight, to me, no offense, Nick, kind of a boring series. Like there just wasn't a lot going on. I was like, okay,
right.
but you got the job done.
100% right.
You got the job done. The one that I thought was far more interesting, the Cleveland-Detroit series, obviously, division rivals. They I don't think you would say they don't like each other, but they're division rivals. They don't like each other. Detroit, again, just was flying, as high as could be, and just died. Like,
Well, the crazy thing was, I'm trying to find which games it were.
Scooble, it was
There
the
were
last-
3 straight shutouts. Mm-hmm. That's insane. I mean, for either team, I think it was 2 for the Tigers and 1 for the Guardians.
I think it was game 1, 2, and 3.
That's
I think
wild for that to happen in the
100%.
postseason, especially with how different it is. I was like, that's really impressive for anybody to shut any team out in the postseason.
100%.
But let alone do it 3 straight games. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't the same team, but still.
And it was,
I was
but
like,
it was,
that's just-
it was crazy up and down the board because game 5, obviously
Scooble
got lit up,
was not
which
there.
was crazy. But you look at Cleveland's like stars and their players, they weren't very good.
I think it was Lane Thomas at the Grand Slam. if
Lane
I'm not
Thomas was
mistaken.
there.
Yeah.
Like Quan batted over 500, which is insane.
Yeah.
Like he's also arguably one of the best hitters in baseball. But everyone else was not very good. So it was kind of like, what happened, Detroit? Your team was playing super, super well. You have literally.
I think you just saw how
Cy
young
Young.
they were, and
100%.
it wasn't like
I
they
agree.
had a lot of momentum, but then they just showed that they're not
The
built for the
inexperience.
postseason. They don't have that guy necessarily that's going to rally everybody together.
I agree.
That they can kind of literally rally around, and they kind of just are kind of lacking. I feel like Javi Baez, if he was actually Javi Baez, obviously he hasn't been in a long time, but that would have been
That
huge.
veteran presence
That
you
would have been
need, yeah.
extremely important for them to
I
have
think-
because I mean he's been there. It just hasn't been a couple of years since he's been that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they were young, or they are young, and Cleveland's pitching has been very good as well.
Yeah, 100%.
And it just kind of shut them down. And hey, Detroit was hot. That was their saying. Detroit was hot. Who let them get hot?
Yeah.
Cooled down. They cooled down. The Guardians bullpen kind of silenced the bats.
Yeah,
Clase came back.
I was going to say you literally have
And that
Clase
was-
who had one bad
and that-
game,
and that was that.
he's
One
I
bad
mean,
pitch.
Yeah,
One
literally,
bad pitch.
and he
Yeah.
should
Like-
be. I mean, he's going to finish second in Cy Young, if not first, which he'll I'd probably end up getting second. But like,
Scooball's going to win it. But
I
Class A
agree.
is
But I'm
gonna be
saying
there.
he's going to be second, probably closer than we all think he's going to be second.
I don't know. It'd be interesting if he gets any votes at all for first place. I think it could be.
He has to get
feel like
some.
he's gonna have to
He
get a
might have
couple.
had like legit. I mean, he's been so good.
He's had one of the best.
But I agree.
Seasons
I'm,
as a regular.
I'm agreeing with both of you guys. I think Detroit's young. Obviously, Scooble is very, very good, but that pressure getting put on you, I know he's kind of older. I think he's 27. He's not
But
like a
still.
young guy, but it's a whole different ballgame. Cleveland, I don't know how much of their roster it was similar to the last World Series team. I know not a lot.
I think it's Jose Ramirez, honestly.
I was going to say,
I mean, there's
think
probably
a lot.
couple of guys that I'm not thinking of, but for the majority, because I
100%.
like Francisco Lindor was kind of that guy. Rajay
think
Davis, the only reason I remember him because of the
Naylor
home
might have
run.
been on the team
Naylor
still.
wasn't.
He wasn't?
No, he's a couple of years. And then they had Rajay Davis, which I don't know why I remember him.
He pinched hit home
Michael
run.
Brantley was a big one.
Yeah,
But-
there were
Yeah,
some
they
weird
Brantley.
names. But you still have at least
Kipnis.
one or two guys that were.
Jason Kipnis.
Oh,
Yeah,
yep,
he was
that's
on there.
the guy.
That's right.
huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
So you just have people with the experience.
Corey
Being there, the
Kluber,
pressure.
Cookie Carrasco.
Who's the catcher? Jan Gomes. There it is.
Oh, it was Gomes.
was
That's
gonna
what I was
say
thinking. It was
Gomes,
Naylor.
yeah.
Didn't they still? They had Kluber. And did they have? Who's their other
They had
really
somebody
good pitcher?
good.
They had their other really good pitcher that they.
Carrasco was good, like Nick just said.
Carrasco.
But, yeah.
I feel like
And they
there was another.
also had,
they had a reliever. They had
the
Andrew
man
Miller.
that shall not be named.
Andrew Miller.
No, they
Yep.
had the man who shall not be named. They had Trevor Bauer.
Oh yeah, they did.
That's who it was. That's exactly. I was gonna say there was someone
Yeah.
else on that team that was like
Dude,
a
he,
massive
he
pitcher.
needs to get signed. I mean,
Yeah.
I was funny. I saw.
He
Actually,
is
I actually
so
saw a video
talented.
today
It is
because he's
ridiculous.
pitching in Mexico and he's just lighting people up. And it was like,
He's
why,
so
why
good.
doesn't the MLB sign him? And then it's just all because he mics himself up and makes YouTube videos.
Oh yeah, I know.
And you
They're
listen
so
to him and it's just
entertaining.
like F word, like screw you, like your mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now you know
Well,
why
yeah,
he's
he also
not.
does that because-
Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, it could be
He
for
also
content.
does
or
that
whatever.
because he's international.
Yeah,
Yeah.
They don't
he's
speak
not
his
going to lose
language.
anything by not being in
Yeah.
the Mexican whatever. But yeah, so now obviously we
Thanks for listening to the Kinda Athletic podcast. Please like and subscribe to all our social media platforms and make sure to come back next week to hear more from the Kinda Athletic podcast.